The salvage ship Wayfinder drifted through the void nebula like a small fish in an ocean of ghosts. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her brown eyes fixed on the sensor readings. Her crew of 8 moved quietly around her, checking equipment and whispering among themselves. "Captain, are you sure about this?" Marcus Wong, her chief engineer, asked nervously. He was a tall man with graying hair and worried eyes. "This place. People don't come back from here." Sarah didn't look away from the screen. "That's exactly why we're here, Marcus. No competition." The Void Nebula was a graveyard. Hundreds of broken ships floated in the darkness, their crews long dead. Most salvagers avoided this place. They said it was cursed. They said the ships here killed anyone who touched them. Sarah Chen didn't believe in curses. She believed in opportunity. "There," she pointed at the screen. "Do you see it?" Her crew gathered around. On the display, something massive appeared through the purple clouds of the nebula. It was enormous, at least 12 kilometers long. The ship's hull was black and covered with strange symbols that glowed faintly in the darkness. "By the stars," Marcus whispered. "That's a Corthax warship." Everyone on the bridge went silent. The Corthax Empire had been defeated 300 years ago. Their ships were legendary and terrifying. This one was called the Eternal Wrath, according to the ancient records. It was supposed to have been destroyed in the final battle against the Galactic Council. "We should leave," said Elena, the navigator. She was young, barely 25, and her hands were shaking. "Corthax ships are forbidden. There are treaties." "Treaties don't pay our debts," Sarah interrupted. Her voice was calm but firm. "That ship has technology worth billions. One good salvage, and we never have to work again." She moved toward the pilot station. "Bring us closer." The Wayfinder moved slowly toward the massive warship. As they got nearer, everyone could see the damage. The Eternal Wrath had holes in its hull. Entire sections were missing. Round. Also, Doc. Scavengers had already been here, taking whatever they could carry. But Sarah saw something different. She saw a possibility. "Scan the reactor core," she ordered. Marcus worked the sensors for several minutes. His eyes went wide. "Captain, the quantum fold reactor is still there. It's intact." The crew started talking all at once. A quantum fold reactor could power an entire city for 100 years. It was incredibly valuable. It was also incredibly dangerous. "We're taking it," Sarah said simply. "Captain, we can't." Marcus stepped in front of her. "Corthax reactors are unstable. They killed thousands of their own people. And even if we could safely extract it, touching this ship violates 12 different council laws. They'll throw us in prison for the rest of our lives." Sarah met his eyes. Her face was hard, like stone. "Marcus, do you remember where I came from?" He nodded slowly. Everyone on the crew knew the story. 10 years ago, Sarah's home was New Providence Colony. It was a small mining settlement with 3,000 people. One day, the Vrax conglomerate arrived. They said the colony was built on their mining rights. They said the people had to leave. The colonists refused. They had legal claims. They had families. They had nowhere else to go. The Vrax didn't care. They destroyed the entire colony from orbit. 3,000 people died in one day. Sarah was away, on a supply run. She came home to ashes. The Galactic Council investigated. They found nothing wrong. The Vrax were too powerful, too rich, too connected. They called it an industrial accident and paid a small fine. Sarah never forgot. She never forgave. "The law didn't help my family," Sarah said quietly. "The law doesn't help anyone without money or power." Before Marcus could argue, the communication system beeped. A voice came through the speakers. "Salvage vessel Wayfinder. This is the Galactic Salvage Guild. You are in prohibited space. Leave immediately or face criminal charges. Sarah walked to the communication panel. She looked at it for a long moment. Her finger hovered over the button. "Captain, please," Elena said. "Think about this." Sarah thought about her mother's face, her brother's laugh, the little house they lived in on New Providence. All of it turned to dust because someone with power decided they didn't matter. She pressed the button, but she didn't answer the guild. Instead, she cut all communications. The bridge went completely silent. "Prep the boarding shuttle," Sarah ordered. "We're going inside." "Captain," Marcus started. "That's an order, Marcus." They boarded the Eternal Wrath 2 hours later. The massive ship was dark inside, lit only by their flashlights. Their boots echoed on metal floors. Strange symbols covered the walls, still glowing faintly with blue light. Sarah led them deep into the ship, following her scanner toward the reactor core. She had studied Corthax technology for years, learning everything she could. This was what she had been searching for. When they reached the reactor room, Sarah stopped. The quantum-fold reactor sat in the center like a sleeping giant. It was twice the size of their entire ship. Blue energy pulsed through tubes and cables. "It's beautiful," Sarah whispered. Marcus checked his scanner. "Captain, the reactor is dormant, but the power systems are still active. If we try to restart this thing, then we restart it," Sarah said. She moved to the control panel. "Captain, no." But Sarah's fingers were already dancing across the alien controls. She had spent years learning Corthax systems. She knew what she was doing. The reactor hummed. Low at first, then louder. Blue light flooded the room, growing brighter and brighter. The entire ship began to vibrate. Then something impossible happened. A voice spoke. It was deep and strange, speaking in the ancient Corthax language. But Sarah understood it. She had learned the dead language years ago. Systems. Awakening. Who dares? Command. Lights blazed to life throughout the massive warship. The Eternal Wrath was waking up after 300 years of sleep. Sarah's crew backed away in fear. But Sarah stepped closer to the reactor. Her eyes reflected the blue light, making her look almost alien herself. "I do," she said in perfect Corthax. "I dare." Marcus grabbed her arm. "Sarah, what have you done?" She turned to him, and he saw something in her eyes that frightened him. It was determination, madness, and hope all mixed together. "I'm going to show the galaxy what humanity can really do," Sarah said. "I'm going to build something that will make the powerful afraid. Something that will make them listen." The ship's lights pulsed around them like a heartbeat. The Eternal Wrath was alive again. 3 months had passed since Sarah Chen brought the Eternal Wrath back to life. The massive warship now hid deep inside the Broken Teeth asteroid field, where sensors couldn't reach and few ships dared to travel. Life on the ancient warship was not easy. Sarah's crew of 8 lived in the habitation section they had repaired. The Corthax built everything too large for humans. The corridors were 3 times normal height. The doors were massive slabs of metal. Even the air felt wrong, too cold, too thin, until they fixed the environmental systems. But slowly, section by section, the Eternal Wrath was coming back to life. Marcus stood in the engineering bay, watching Sarah work on a console. She hadn't slept in 2 days. Her hair was messy, her clothes dirty, and her eyes had dark circles under them. She talked to herself constantly, switching between human languages and Corthax. "Sarah, you need to rest," Marcus said, bringing her a meal pack. "Can't rest," Sarah muttered, not looking up. "Almost have it figured out. The power distribution network. It's elegant." "Marcus, the Corthax were geniuses." "The Corthax are dead," Marcus reminded her. Sarah finally looked at him. "Only because they didn't understand what they built. But I will." Marcus sighed. This was the third time this week they'd had this conversation. The crew is getting restless. Elena and 4 others want to leave. The Galactic Council has issued warrants for all of us. We're criminals now. I paid them, Sarah said, turning back to her work. Money isn't enough when you're scared, Marcus said quietly. They're afraid of you, Sarah. You've changed. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Good. Fear keeps people focused. Marcus wanted to argue, but movement on his datapad stopped him. Captain, we have a problem. I'm detecting unusual readings from the main weapon system. Sarah was already moving, running through the corridors toward the ship's primary weapons bay. Marcus followed, struggling to keep up. The weapons bay was enormous, stretching over 1 kilometer in length. In the center sat the most terrifying weapon ever created, the reality fracture cannon. It looked like a massive tube made of black crystal and metal, covered in glowing symbols. Sarah approached the control panel and began reading the data. Her face went pale. What is it? Marcus asked. I found what destroyed the Corthax, Sarah whispered. This weapon. Marcus, it doesn't just shoot energy. It tears holes in space-time itself. It can make reality break apart. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. That's not possible. The Corthax made it possible, Sarah said, her fingers flying over the controls. They fired it once, 300 years ago. It worked. They destroyed an entire planet in one shot, but the power required. She pulled up a schematic. It burned out their entire fleet's power grid. Everyone aboard died from the energy feedback. Then the ship drifted here. She pulled up a skimeter. Then we need to destroy this weapon, Marcus said firmly. Right now. Before I make it work? Sarah interrupted, turning to face him. Her eyes were bright with dangerous excitement. The Corthax failed because they tried to use brute force. They channeled all the power at once. No regulation, no control. But I can fix that. I can make it controllable. Sarah, listen to yourself. Marcus grabbed her shoulders. This weapon killed everyone who tried to use it. You're talking about planet-destroying power. No one should have that. Sarah pulled away from him. The Vrax conglomerate does. They have planet crackers. They have orbital bombardment fleets. They use them on New Providence. Marcus, they turned my home into dust, and the Council did nothing. So, this is about revenge, Marcus said sadly. This is about justice, Sarah corrected. The galaxy is controlled by corporations and governments with planet-killing weapons. They do whatever they want, because no one can stop them. But what if someone could? What if there was a weapon so powerful that even they had to be careful? That someone being you? Marcus asked. Why not me? Sarah's voice rose. I've spent 10 years studying Corthax technology. I was dishonorably discharged from the military for researching weapons that violated ethics guidelines. Everyone said I was obsessed. Maybe they were right. But my obsession brought us here, to the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. Marcus looked at his friend and captain. He had known Sarah for 15 years. She had always been intense, driven, brilliant. But now she was something else. Something that scared him. I'm going to make this weapon work, Sarah said quietly. With or without your help. Before Marcus could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Elena's voice came through the communication system, panicked and loud. Captain, we have incoming. Small ship, Vrax design, scout class. Sarah and Marcus ran to the bridge. On the screens, they could see a sleek Vrax scout ship moving through the asteroid field, scanning as it went. How did they find us? Elena asked. Doesn't matter, Sarah said, sitting in the captain's chair. Basic defense turrets only, Marcus said, checking his console. The main cannon isn't ready. I don't need the main cannon for this, Sarah's hands moved across the controls. She had spent 3 months learning this ship's systems. The Eternal Wrath responded to her touch, like it was waiting for her commands. The Corsair's warship's turrets powered up. They locked onto the Wrack's scout ship. "Captain, wait," Elena said. "Maybe we can talk to them. Explain." "They're Wracks," Sarah said coldly. "They don't talk. They take what they want and destroy what they can't take." She pressed the firing button. Blue energy beams shot from the Eternal Wrath's turrets. The Wrack scout ship tried to dodge, but it was too slow. The beams cut through its shields like paper. The ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The bridge went silent. Sarah stood up slowly. "Marcus, how long before the Wrack send a fleet to investigate?" Marcus checked his calculations, his hands shaking. 6 weeks, maybe less. "Then we have 6 weeks to make the reality fracture cannon operational," Sarah said. "Get everyone working. Double shifts. I want every system checked and rechecked." "Sarah," Marcus said quietly, "we just killed people. Wrack scouts usually have a crew of 4. They chose to work for the Wracks," Sarah said without emotion. "They chose to hunt us. I won't apologize for surviving." She walked toward the door, then stopped. "In 6 weeks, a Wrack's fleet will come here. They'll have battle cruisers, frigates, maybe even a dreadnought. They'll want to destroy us before word gets out about what we have." Sarah turned to look at her crew. Her eyes held no doubt, no fear, only cold determination. "So we have 2 choices. We can run, hide, and spend the rest of our short lives being hunted. Or we can finish what the Corsair started. We can make this weapon work. We can become something the Wracks, the Council, and every other power in this galaxy has to respect. Or fear," Marcus added quietly. Sarah smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "Fear works too." She left the bridge. The crew looked at each other, uncertain and afraid. Marcus stared at the spot where the Wrack scout ship had been. Pieces of debris floated in the darkness. He thought about the 4 people who had been on that ship. They were probably just doing their job. Now they were dead. And Sarah hadn't even hesitated. Marcus realized something that made his stomach turn cold. The weapon they needed to fear wasn't the reality fracture cannon. It was Sarah Chen herself. She had become someone willing to do anything, sacrifice anything, to get her revenge. And with a planet-destroying weapon in her hands, there was no telling where she would stop. Outside, the Eternal Wrath floated in the asteroid field, its lights glowing in the darkness. The ancient warship was waking up fully now, responding to its new master. 4 weeks had passed since the Wrack scout ship died. The crew of the Eternal Wrath worked day and night, racing against time. Everyone knew what was coming. Sarah Chen barely left the weapon control room anymore. She slept in a chair near the reality fracture cannon's main console. She ate while working. She talked to the ship's AI like it was her only friend. And maybe it was. 3 crew members had tried to mutiny in the 2nd week. They wanted to take a shuttle and escape before the Wrack's fleet arrived. Sarah caught them, trying to steal supplies. Now they sat in the brig, locked behind Corsair's energy barriers. Only 5 crew members remained loyal. Marcus was the most dedicated, though even he looked at Sarah with worried eyes now. On this particular morning, Marcus found Sarah standing in front of the reality fracture cannon. She was talking to herself again, but this time he heard what she was saying. "Yes, I understand," Sarah whispered to the empty air. "The power flow needs organic regulation. The Corsair couldn't do it because they were too rigid in their thinking." "Sarah," Marcus said carefully, "who are you talking to?" She turned, and Marcus stepped back. Her eyes looked different. They reflected the blue light of the cannon in a strange way, making them look almost alien. "The ship's AI," Sarah said simply. "It's been teaching me. showing me things. The ship's AI has been dead for 300 years, Marcus said slowly. No. Sarah smiled. Just sleeping. Like the reactor. I woke it up, and now it trusts me. It shows me memories of the Corthax. Their mistakes. Their failures. She turned back to the cannon. I know how to make it work now, Marcus. I know what they did wrong. Marcus felt fear crawl up his spine. Sarah, you need to rest. You haven't slept properly in weeks. I'll rest when we're safe. Sarah interrupted. Call everyone to the main briefing room. It's time. An hour later, the remaining crew gathered in the briefing room. Elena looked exhausted. The others looked scared. Only Marcus seemed determined to hear what Sarah had to say. Sarah stood at the front, displaying holographic schematics of the reality fracture cannon. The Corthax Empire fell because of this weapon, Sarah began. They built it to win their war against the Galactic Council. It could destroy planets, tear holes in space, reshape reality itself. But when they fired it, the power feedback killed everyone aboard their ships. She zoomed in on the power regulation systems. The problem was simple. The weapon requires so much energy that no mechanical system can handle it. The power spikes are too random, too chaotic. The Corthax tried to control chaos with rigid programming. It failed, so it can't be done, Elena said hopefully. We should destroy it and leave. It can be done, Sarah said firmly. Just not mechanically. It needs something else. Something the Corthax didn't have. She changed the hologram to show human biology. Humans are different from every other species in the galaxy. We have redundant systems. Our brains can adapt to almost anything. We survive injuries that would kill other species. We learn languages, skills, and technologies faster than anyone expected. Marcus saw where this was going. No. Sarah. No. The solution is biomechanical integration. Sarah continued, ignoring him. A human neural pattern connected directly to the ship's AI and the weapon's power systems. A human mind can regulate the chaos. We think in creative, adaptable ways. We don't follow rigid patterns. We're exactly what this weapon needs. You're talking about connecting a human brain to an alien weapon that kills people, Marcus shouted, standing up. That's insane. I'm talking about survival, Sarah said calmly. In 2 weeks, maybe less, a Vrax fleet will arrive. They'll have 6, maybe 8 warships. Our shields will hold for a few minutes, maybe an hour. Then they'll break through and kill us all, unless we can use the reality fracture cannon. And who would be stupid enough to connect themselves to this death machine? Elena asked. Sarah looked at them all. I would. I've already been testing it. The room exploded with shouts. Marcus felt his world spinning. You what? Sarah pulled back her sleeve, showing strange marks on her arm. They looked like burns, but they glowed faintly with blue light. For the past 3 weeks, I've been connecting to the ship's neural interface. Small sessions. Building up tolerance. My brain patterns are uniquely compatible with the Corthax AI. You're killing yourself. Marcus grabbed her shoulders. Sarah, please, listen to me. This is madness. Your family wouldn't want this. Your brother. My brother is dead, Sarah shouted, pulling away. Everyone I loved is dead. The Vrax killed them and faced no consequences. The Galactic Council did nothing. The law did nothing. Justice did nothing. She was breathing hard now, her eyes wild. But this weapon, this can make them pay. This can make everyone who uses power to hurt the weak think twice. This can change everything. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared. Ships dropping out of hyperspace, multiple contacts, Vrax signatures. How many? Sarah demanded. 7. No, 8 contacts. 1 battlecruiser, 6 frigates, and, oh no, 1 dreadnought. Marcus felt his heart sink. A Vrax dreadnought could destroy entire fleets. It was a fortress that moved through space, carrying hundreds of fighters and enough firepower to crack a planet's crust. "They're hailing us," Elena said quietly. "Put them through," Sarah ordered. The view screen activated, showing a Vrax commander. The Vrax were insect-like beings with multiple eyes and sharp mandibles. This one wore ceremonial armor, marked with kill counts. "Human vessel," the Vrax commander clicked in broken human language. "You destroyed Vrax property. You stole forbidden technology. Surrender now, and deaths will be quick." Sarah walked toward the view screen, her face calm. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Eternal Wrath. You have 10 seconds to leave this system." The Vrax commander made a sound like laughing. "Foolish human. You have ancient wreck. We have fleet. You die now." 10 seconds, Sarah repeated. The Vrax commander cut the transmission. A moment later, weapons fire lit up space. The Vrax fleet opened fire with everything they had. Sarah ran from the briefing room toward the main command center. Marcus and the others followed. The ship shook as weapons hit the shields. In the command center, Sarah approached something new. Over the past 4 weeks, she had built a throne-like chair in the center of the room. It was covered with cables, neural interfaces, and glowing Corthax technology. It looked like a torture device. "Sarah, don't!" Marcus reached for her. She pushed him away gently. "Protect the others, Marcus. Keep them safe. And if I don't survive this, tell the galaxy what happened here. Tell them what the Vrax did. Tell them what humanity can become when pushed too far." Sarah sat in the throne. The neural interfaces moved like living things, attaching to her head, her neck, her arms. She gasped as they connected. "Initiating neural link," the ship's AI said in Corthax. "Warning. Connection may cause permanent neural damage or death." "Do it," Sarah whispered. The throne activated. Blue light flooded the command center. Sarah's body went rigid. Her eyes rolled back, showing only white. Then her mouth opened, and she screamed. It was a scream of agony and transformation. Her consciousness expanded outward, connecting to every system in the massive warship. She could feel the reactor's heartbeat. She could sense the weapons charging. She could see through the ship's sensors as clearly as her own eyes. The Eternal Wrath was no longer just a ship. It was an extension of Sarah Chen herself. Outside, the Vrax fleet continued firing. But Sarah could feel their weapons hitting the shields like raindrops on skin. She smiled, though her body in the throne was shaking and bleeding from the nose. When Sarah spoke, her voice came from every speaker on the ship. It was her voice, but deeper, with harmonic overtones that shouldn't be possible. "You have made a mistake," Sarah's voice echoed. "You should have left when I gave you the chance." She felt the reality fracture cannon charging. The power was enormous, chaotic, wild. But Sarah's human mind wrapped around it, shaped it, controlled it. The Corthax had tried to force the chaos into rigid patterns. Sarah danced with it instead. "Fire," she whispered. The reality fracture cannon unleashed hell. Space itself screamed. The reality fracture cannon fired, and reality broke. A tear appeared in the fabric of space, a wound in the universe itself. It looked like a crack in glass. Except this crack glowed with colors that had no names. Colors that shouldn't exist. 5 Vrax frigates were directly in the weapon's path. They didn't explode. They didn't burn. They simply ceased to exist. The dimensional tear swallowed them whole, crushing them into nothing as space collapsed on itself. On the bridge of the Vrax dreadnought, alarms screamed. The commander stared at his screens in disbelief. What was that?" He clicked in shock. Unknown weapon signature, his tactical officer reported. 5 ships. Gone. No debris. No energy signatures. Just gone. All ships. Evasive maneuvers, the commander ordered. Target that warship. Destroy it now. But the Eternal Wrath was no longer an easy target. Inside the command center, Sarah Chen existed in 2 places at once. Her body sat in the throne, bleeding from her nose and ears. But her consciousness lived inside the ship now. She could see everything, feel everything, control everything. Marcus watched in horror as Sarah's body convulsed. Blood ran from her nose, dripping onto her shirt. Her fingers gripped the armrests so hard, her knuckles were white. "Sarah, you're dying!" Marcus shouted, moving toward the throne. But the ship's AI stopped him. Energy barriers appeared, blocking his path. The AI's voice spoke in perfect human language now, mimicking Sarah's tone. "Do not interfere. The integration is progressing. She must complete the connection." "She's dying!" Marcus screamed. "She is transforming," the AI corrected. "Human biology is adapting to Corsair's technology. Pain is temporary. Evolution is permanent." Outside, the Vrax battlecruiser unleashed its full arsenal. Hundreds of missiles streaked toward the Eternal Wrath. Energy beams hot enough to melt steel converged on the ancient warship. Sarah felt them coming. Through the ship's sensors, she could see each missile, track each energy beam. She didn't think about how to respond. She just knew. The Eternal Wrath moved. A ship 12 kilometers long shouldn't be able to dodge. It was too massive, too heavy. Basic physics said it was impossible. But Sarah made it possible. The warship twisted through space like a dancer, moving between asteroids with impossible grace. Missiles exploded against rocks instead of hull. Energy beams cut through empty space where the ship had been moments before. The Vrax commander watched his screens with growing horror. "That's impossible. Ships that size can't maneuver like that." "Commander," his tactical officer said nervously, "the energy readings from that ship, they're off the scale. It's generating more power than our entire fleet combined." "Then we use everything," the commander decided. "All ships, converge on target. Dreadnought, prepare the planet cracker beam." The Vrax dreadnought began charging its main weapon, a beam designed to shatter continental plates and boil oceans. It took 3 minutes to charge fully, but once fired, nothing could survive it. Sarah felt the dreadnought's power building. She felt the other Vrax ships moving into position, surrounding her. They were trying to trap her, overwhelm her with numbers. She smiled, though her physical body was barely conscious. "You think numbers matter?" Sarah's voice echoed from the Eternal Wrath's communication systems. "You think this is a normal battle?" She targeted the reality fracture cannon again. But this time, something was different. The weapon was responding faster, charging more efficiently. Sarah's neural patterns were learning, adapting, improving with each use. The cannon fired again. This time, Sarah shaped the dimensional tear differently. Instead of a straight line, she curved it. The tear in space bent around 2 asteroids and struck 3 Vrax frigates from behind. They never saw it coming. One moment, 3 warships existed. The next moment, there was only empty space and the fading glow of collapsing dimensions. "Impossible!" the Vrax commander screamed. "The weapon is guided." It turned in midair. On the Eternal Wrath, Marcus finally broke through the energy barrier. He reached Sarah's throne and grabbed her hand. It was ice cold. "Sarah, please," Marcus begged. "You've won. They're retreating. You can stop now." But Sarah's eyes, when they opened, were no longer fully human. They glowed with the same blue light as the ship's systems. She looked at Marcus, but he wasn't sure she really saw him. "Can't stop," Sarah whispered in her own voice, mixed with the ship's harmonic tones. They sent a dreadnought, Marcus. They came to kill us all. I have to. We have to finish this. The Wrack's battlecruiser tried to escape. It turned and fired its engines at full power, attempting to reach hyperspace distance. Sarah wouldn't let it. The Eternal Wrath chased the battlecruiser through the asteroid field. The massive Corsair warship moved like a predator hunting prey, weaving between rocks, firing its conventional weapons to herd the Wrack ship deeper into the asteroids. Please. The Wrack's captain transmitted on all frequencies. Mercy. We surrender. Sarah's response was cold. Did you show mercy to New Providence Colony? Did you show mercy to the 3,000 people you killed? That wasn't us. The Wrack's captain clicked desperately. That was different fleet. Different command. We just follow orders. Everyone just follows orders, Sarah said bitterly. No one is ever responsible. No one ever pays. She prepared to fire the reality fracture cannon again. But something went wrong. The weapon had been fired 3 times in rapid succession. The power systems were overloading. The dimensional tear, instead of closing properly after the last shot, began to expand. Alarms blared throughout the Eternal Wrath. The tear in space grew larger, wider, pulling asteroids into its impossible depths. It was becoming unstable, threatening to consume everything nearby, including Sarah's ship. Marcus watched the screens in horror. Sarah, the tear is expanding. It's going to swallow us. Sarah felt it through her connection to the ship. The dimensional collapse was accelerating. In 30 seconds, maybe less, the tear would reach the Eternal Wrath. In a minute, it would consume the entire asteroid field. The Corsair had failed at this exact moment, 300 years ago. They couldn't control the dimensional tear once it went unstable. It killed them all. But Sarah Chen was not Corsair. She was human. And humans were very, very good at creative solutions. Sarah stopped fighting the tear. Instead, she dove into it with her consciousness. She felt the chaotic energies, the collapsing dimensions, the screaming physics that existed in that impossible space. The Corsair tried to force it closed with brute power. Sarah did something different. She shaped it. Her human mind, creative and adaptable, found patterns in the chaos. She could transform it from a weapon of destruction into something else entirely. Sarah screamed as power beyond imagination flowed through her neural link. Her body in the throne began to smoke. Her skin cracked, glowing with blue light from underneath. Sarah, no! Marcus reached for her, but Elena pulled him back. Don't touch her. The energy will kill you. Sarah used every ounce of her will, every fragment of her consciousness, every creative impulse that made her human. She grabbed the dimensional tear like a sculptor grabbing clay and twisted it. The tear stopped expanding. Then it began to change shape. It bent, curved, and transformed into something impossible, a controlled wormhole. The Wrack's battlecruiser, trying to escape, flew directly into it. The ship disappeared, traveling through Sarah's artificial wormhole in a fraction of a second. It emerged 3 star systems away, damaged but alive. The Wrack's crew would live to tell the story of what they saw. The wormhole collapsed cleanly, leaving no trace behind. Silence filled the command center. Sarah's body slumped in the throne. The neural interfaces disconnected automatically, sliding away from her skin. Marcus ran to her, catching her before she fell. Sarah, stay with me. She opened her eyes slowly. They were still glowing faintly blue. Did we win? You won, Marcus said, tears running down his face. You won, you crazy, brilliant idiot. Sarah tried to smile, but her body was broken. The neural load had damaged her brain, her nervous system, everything. She should be dead, but she was still breathing. I can still feel it, Sarah whispered. The ship, the systems, even disconnected. I can feel it all. She looked at her hands. They were trembling and glowing faintly with blue energy. Marcus, I'm not entirely human anymore, am I? Marcus checked her vital signs with a medical scanner. What he saw made him pale. Sarah's neural patterns had changed permanently. Her brain now generated electromagnetic fields that matched the ship's frequencies. Parts of her DNA had been altered by exposure to the quantum energies. She was something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. A human who had merged with alien technology and survived. No, Marcus admitted quietly. You're not, but you're alive. That's what matters. Outside, the Vrax dreadnought and the last surviving frigate fled into hyperspace. They had seen enough. The Eternal Wrath floated among the asteroids, victorious but changed forever. 2 weeks passed after the battle. Sarah Chen lay in the medical bay, recovering from injuries that should have killed her. But she didn't die. Her body healed in strange ways. The burns on her skin faded, leaving glowing blue lines like circuits. Her eyes permanently reflected light in unusual patterns. And strangest of all, she could still feel the Eternal Wrath even when she was far from the command center. She knew when the engines needed maintenance. She sensed fluctuations in the power core. She could feel the ship's systems, like they were extensions of her own body. Marcus visited her every day, bringing food and updates. The 3 crew members who tried to mutiny had been released and chose to leave on a shuttle. Elena and the others stayed, though they looked at Sarah with a mixture of fear and awe. The Galactic Council is looking for us, Marcus reported, sitting beside her bed. They've declared the Eternal Wrath a threat to galactic peace. There's a massive bounty on our heads. Sarah nodded slowly. And the Vrax? Vrax. Silent. Completely silent. The battlecruiser you sent through the wormhole made it to Vrax space. The crew is telling everyone what happened. Some people think they're lying. Others. Marcus paused. Others are scared. Good, Sarah said quietly. Fear keeps people honest. Marcus looked at his friend with worried eyes. Sarah, what are you now? The doctors can't explain your condition. Your neural patterns don't match any known species. You're generating energy fields that shouldn't be possible in a living being. Sarah held up her hand. Blue light flickered between her fingers like electricity. I'm what happens when humanity refuses to accept limits. I'm what happens when someone with nothing left to lose finds the power to change things. Before Marcus could respond, alarms rang throughout the ship. But these weren't attack warnings. These were long-range communication alerts. Sarah stood up, still wearing her medical gown. Someone's trying to contact us. They reached the bridge in minutes. Elena was already at the communications station, her face pale. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from 17 different sources. Some are encrypted, some are open broadcasts. They're all asking the same thing. What? Sarah asked. Elena swallowed nervously. They want to hire you. Sarah moved to the main view screen. Messages scrolled across the display. Mining colonies asking for protection from corporate raiders. Farming worlds requesting help against pirate fleets. Even some small governments wanted to hire the Eternal Wrath as a deterrent against their enemies. Word has spread fast, Marcus said. Everyone heard about what you did to the Vrax fleet. Now they think you're a mercenary. Sarah read the messages silently. So many desperate people. So many places where power was abused and justice didn't exist. She had wanted to make the powerful afraid. Instead, she had given hope to the powerless. Captain, Elena interrupted, one transmission is different. It's from the Vrax conglomerate. Official channels. Play it, Sarah ordered. The view screen changed, showing a Vrax in ornate robes. This wasn't a military commander. This was a Vrax council member, one of the leaders of their entire civilization. Captain Chen. The Vrax clicked in perfect human language. Your actions have caused great concern. The Vrax conglomerate wishes to negotiate. Sarah raised an eyebrow. Negotiate? That's a new word for you. We propose settlement, the Vrax continued, clearly uncomfortable. The New Providence incident will be re-investigated. Reparations will be paid to survivors. Those responsible will face justice. In exchange, you will leave Vrax space and never return. Marcus grabbed Sarah's arm excitedly. This is it. This is what you wanted. Justice for New Providence. But Sarah's expression was cold. And what about the other colonies you destroyed? What about the other species you've exploited? Do they get justice too? The Vrax counselor was silent for a moment. We can discuss additional cases. Not good enough, Sarah said. Here's my counteroffer. The Vrax conglomerate will stand trial at the Galactic Council for all war crimes committed in the last 50 years. Every colony destroyed, every species exploited, every law you broke because you thought you were too powerful to face consequences. Impossible, the Vrax counselor clicked angrily. The Vrax conglomerate answers to no one. Sarah smiled. But it wasn't a kind smile. You answer to me now. Because I have something you don't have. I have a weapon that can tear holes in reality itself. I have a ship that can appear anywhere in the galaxy, and I have nothing left to lose. She leaned closer to the screen. I'm going to park the Eternal Wrath in orbit, above your capital world. I'm going to stay there until you agree to my terms. And if you refuse. The lights on the bridge flickered as power surged through the ship in response to Sarah's emotions. Then your people will learn what it feels like to have a planet-destroying weapon hanging over their heads every single day. You're bluffing, the Vrax counselor said, but his voice wavered. Am I? Sarah asked. Your military tried to stop me with a dreadnought and 7 warships. I destroyed them in minutes. Do you really want to test whether I'm bluffing? The Vrax counselor's mandibles clicked nervously. He cut the transmission without another word. Marcus stared at Sarah in shock. You're actually going to do it? Park a weapon of mass destruction over their homeworld? Yes, Sarah said simply. And I'm going to broadcast my demands to the entire galaxy. Let everyone see the Vrax face justice for once. The Galactic Council will never allow it, Elena said. They'll send fleets to stop you. Sarah walked to the captain's chair and sat down. The ship's systems responded to her presence, coming to full power without her touching any controls. The connection between woman and machine was complete. Then the Council will learn the same lesson as the Vrax, Sarah said. Power without accountability is tyranny. And I won't allow tyranny anymore. Sarah, Marcus said quietly, you're becoming what you hate. You're using fear and threats to force people to obey you. That's exactly what the Vrax did. Sarah was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was sad, but firm. Maybe you're right, Marcus. Maybe I am becoming a monster, but I'm a monster that protects the weak instead of exploiting them. I'm a monster that punishes the powerful instead of serving them. She looked at her crew. Anyone who wants to leave can take a shuttle now. No judgment, no punishment. But if you stay, you're part of this. You're part of changing how the galaxy works. Elena looked at the others, then back at Sarah. I'll stay. My family died in a corporate mining accident that was ruled acceptable losses. If you're going to make them pay, I want to help. One by one, the other crew members agreed to stay. Only Marcus hesitated. Sarah, I've known you for 15 years. You were always intense, always driven, but you were good. You cared about people. This path you're on, where does it end? It ends when people can live without fear, Sarah said. It ends when colonies don't get destroyed for profit. It ends when justice means something again. And if that never happens? Marcus asked. If you have to keep threatening, keep fighting, keep becoming less human forever? Sarah looked down at her hands. The blue lines glowed brighter, pulsing with the ship's energy. Then I'll keep going until there's nothing human left. Because even a monster fighting for justice is better than a saint who does nothing. Marcus made his decision. Then I'll stay too. Not because I agree with you, but because someone needs to remind you that you're still human, even if you don't feel like it anymore. Sarah smiled genuinely, for the first time in weeks. Thank you, Marcus. She turned to the view screen, looking at the stars. Set course for Vrax Prime. Maximum speed. It's time the galaxy learned that humans don't follow the old rules anymore. The Eternal Wrath powered up its massive engines. Blue light flooded from the reactor core, traveling through every system, every weapon, every section of the 12-kilometer warship. And at its heart sat Sarah Chen, part human, part machine, entirely determined. The Galactic Council would try to stop her. The Vrax would fight back. Other powers would see her as a threat, but Sarah had already died once, in spirit if not in body, when her family burned. What emerged from that death was something new, something the galaxy had never seen. A human who took a dead warship and turned it into a weapon that could reshape reality itself. Not just the reality fracture cannon, but Sarah Chen herself. The Eternal Wrath disappeared into hyperspace, carrying its damaged but determined crew toward the Vrax homeworld. Behind them, the asteroid field was quiet and empty. But across the galaxy, in colonies and stations and worlds where the powerless lived in fear, people heard the story. They heard about the human who said, "No more." The human who took power into her own hands when the law failed. Some called her a hero. Others called her a terrorist. The Galactic Council called her a threat. But everyone agreed on one thing. The galaxy would never be the same again. And somewhere, traveling through the stars at impossible speeds, Sarah Chen smiled. She could feel the ship around her, the weapon at her command, the power flowing through systems both mechanical and biological. She had become the thing she needed to be. A weapon that walks. A human that broke every rule. A monster that chose justice over peace. And she was just getting started.